Overwatch is dying. We've heard this every other week for the past 6 years, and as someone who plays the game, I've watched it in fact not die for the past 6 years. This time it kind of feels a little different. Overwatch streamers, content creators, and players alike are all leaving the game to go hang out with the new kid on the block, Marvel Rivals. He's a transfer student from China. He's pretty cool. I heard his dad works at Disney. Marvel Rivals is a smash hit, and it seems like everyone loves it. They love it so much, in fact, that every time I make a post about Overwatch, it's filled with comments saying some variation of Rivals good, Overwatch bad. People are leaving reviews on Overwatch telling people to just play Rivals instead, and any post on Reddit about either of these games is filled with comments about how Overwatch sucks and why even bother playing it when there's a clearly superior game. The Overwatch hate is only increasing and the player base is only decreasing, but is this really the end of Overwatch? I'll be honest, Overwatch feels a lot more dead currently than I could ever remember it being. I've played a bit of quick play in Overwatch recently, and I've noticed a couple of things. One, I see the same players over and over again, and two, I see players that are way lower ranked than I'm used to seeing. The reason seeing lower ranked players in my game is significant is because this might indicate there aren't enough similarly ranked players to form a balanced game. I used to be pretty consistently top 500, though that was a while ago, and my friend is Masters, and we've gotten gold and even bronze players on our team, which is all fine and cool, and I love my lower ranked homies out there, but that doesn't happen in skill-based matchmaking, and has never really happened in the 8 years I've been playing Overwatch. Of course, not everyone is playing quick play. The player base is split between things like the new 6v6 mode, playing comp, and even Mischief and Magic, but for the most part, it seems like the game mode they're playing is actually Marvel Rivals. With everyone switching to a new game, the future seems bleak for Overwatch, but it also creates a big opportunity for the game. Obviously, competition is good for consumers. We all know this. When Rivals launched and proved to be a big success, Overwatch quickly released the 6v6 mode, 1 free collab skin, 3 free Christmas skins, 1 Kiriko recolor that was actually priced as an epic skin instead of legendary skin, and perhaps most importantly of all, they gave us 2 grippers out for Venture. But of course, we all know competition is good for us gamers, but as I was getting at, it might even be good for the games themselves. Rivals was able to capitalize on the Overwatch player base who were bored and felt betrayed by the game, and there is a world where Marvel players go ahead and try out Overwatch. But for this to happen, Overwatch has got to get their shit together and actually release content and change the game in a fresh way, which they teased they might be doing in Season 15. But then again, they teased PvE for 3 years and look how that went. Now they're teasing big changes for PvP, and they have the opportunity to do the funniest thing and announce the cancellation of PvP. Also, I know everyone will be shocked and disappointed to hear this, but despite me having 200 subscribers, the Overwatch team did not reach out and invite me to this new patch, to see the new patch early. I know you guys are pretty disappointed in that, but it's okay. I'll watch from the sidelines and bring you guys the hottest content, like Gunnar compares the design of Rivals and Overwatch, and how awkward I feel alone in a room with each hero. So like, don't worry, we'll get through this. Maybe next time they'll invite me. But my prediction for Season 15 is pretty optimistic. Overwatch is clearly losing the battle against Rivals, and they have to do something different, and they know this. They specifically said they're doing groundbreaking changes to PvP, and I feel like that they have to do something pretty significant to justify that wording. I'm not specifically sure what this could be, but something like Junkenstein's Laboratory would be pretty groundbreaking, though I think that's unlikely as they only realized recently how popular that idea was. And I don't have a solid prediction on what these PvP changes could be, other than hero bans, pickable passives, and a map voting system. Under Bobby Kotick's miserable regime, they worked on so many different things and canceled so many different things. Maybe it's actually time to bring some version of these things they worked so hard on into the game. Now, my most confident prediction for Season 15 is that they will actually do at least one consumer-friendly thing. Since the launch of Overwatch 2, Blizzard has slowly been peeling back the greed for the most part. And now that they're losing the battle against Rivals, this might mean it's time to ease up even further. Something like giving the main currency in the paid battle pass so you could actually have enough to buy next seasons. Currently you get 600 out of the 1,000 you need, but all of those 600 are in the free pass, maybe another 600 in the paid pass, I don't know. And maybe eventually they don't paywall weapon inspects, because they literally teased that in the Overwatch 2 trailer. Like, Blizzard, it's been 2 years, where the frick are they? These weapon flourishes and the mythic weapons do not count as weapon inspects, okay? Let me just say that. You can't paywall it. I will not accept that. But Overwatch really does need to make these changes actually groundbreaking to bring players back. And let me drop another prediction for Season 15. 2015 of Overwatch, and that's that we're gonna see the highest recent Steam reviews in Overwatch's history, maybe even as high as 40%. Just like they have a big chance to redeem themselves, they also have a chance to disappoint players further, just like they always do, and Overwatch can continue falling into obscurity. If players keep leaving, I feel like it could snowball further down. If some of my friends stop playing Overwatch, then I'm less likely to play, and then once I stop playing, other of my friends will be less likely to play, and as it's a social game, it could definitely continue compounding its losses. Here's a depressing Steam chart, which might not tell the full story, as a lot of people are on battle.net, but it's depressing nonetheless. And compare that to Rivals. Rivals has a very positive score on Steam compared to the overwhelmingly negative Overwatch score. A very impressive 644,000 peak concurrent players, which has come down from, but it still has a 24-hour peak, 12 times higher than Overwatch's. Wow, what a video so far. But you know what's better than the stupid video? Yep, that's right. Joining this thriving AnxiousBean's Discord server. I need some people for some top secret videos I'm working on, both for Rivals and Overwatch. So if you wanna freaking join me in that, that'd be sick. Otherwise, you could just join for freaking fun. And if you're the only one who joins, then we could just sit there awkwardly and talk about the weather and traffic. It'll be great. Following the success of other Overwatch competitors like Lawbreakers, Battleborn, Crucible, and the smash hit Concord, NetEase said, hey, we should make a hero shooter. Everyone loves new hero shooters, and after completely misreading the room, they were somehow completely right. While a lot of the other games tried to compete with Overwatch while it was still in its prime and had a positive reputation, Marvel Rivals is going up against one of the worst reviewed games on Steam of all time. A game that has a downfall video being made about it every other day. People still play Overwatch. Let me say it. You know, people said it's been a dead game for years and years. And I know some of y'all out there still play Overwatch, you're still liking it. So, you know, you're probably lurking on this video, not gonna leave a comment because the whole comment section is talking about how good Rivals is and how dumb I am. So why don't you leave a little comment and say that you play Overwatch? And for all the rival players who are upset that they're enjoying Overwatch, leave a comment and say they're stupid for enjoying the game. As you can see in the comment section, there might be tens, maybe even dozens of comments of people saying that they play Overwatch. And, you know, it's just not a dead game. A dead game is like Concord, where they literally have to turn off the servers and don't update it anymore and stuff like that. I think that's what a dead game is. I think all of the other hero shooters have died, except for Paladins. 1,700 players, going strong. You gotta keep it up, buddy. You're freaking doing great. And along with their only competitor being a horrible, horrible game that everyone hates, Marvel Rivals already has a recognizable cast off the bat. It has plenty of heroes that already have superpowers, art, and personalities. All they really need to do is slap a pre-existing ability from an Overwatch hero that kind of makes sense, and bam, our Rivals hero is born. And another reason they might have made a hero shooter is maybe because NetEase is just being a little petty, which if you read the public comments between these two companies, you might agree with me on this one. So let's talk about the companies behind these games. Blizzard and NetEase have a fun little relationship where they have been business partners for 14 years and even had a glorious collab where it would cost $500,000 to max out your character, which I'll get to in a minute. But first, what was this partnership they had? From my understanding, the way China works is US Games needed a Chinese publisher to bring the games into China, and there's a long approval process, and NetEase was that publisher for Blizzard Games, bringing Diablo, Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, Warcraft, and Marvel Rivals' biggest competitor, Overwatch, into the Great Chinese Communist Party. After a 14-year partnership, these companies got into a little divorce over some silly little numbers, but I thought they loved each other regardless of how much money they made, but love is a lie and doesn't exist. On November 16th, 2022, NetEase and Blizzard separately announced that they had broken off talks on a new licensing deal to extend their long-running partnership. Blizzard put out a public statement saying, "It is a pity that NetEase is not willing to extend the services of our games for another 6 months on the basis of existing terms as we look for a new partner. For this reason, players won't be able to continue playing our games, but we want to make it clear that it's not over yet. We are still looking for a distribution partner who shares our values and principles." And within hours, NetEase clapped back in a sternly worded rebuttal. NetEase accused its long-term business partner of being rude, inappropriate, and not in line with business logic. The Chinese company likened the situation to a couple going through a separation where its American spouse was overly confident and unreasonably demanding. They used a popular Chinese euphemism to describe unfaithful or indecisive partners. NetEase wrote, "It's as if they were riding a donkey while looking for a horse, proposing a divorce while still engaging with the same partner. It's apparent that Blizzard doesn't care about its players." And I just think this little public feud really funny. For the next 2 years, Blizzard's games were taken out of China until these lovers to enemies became lovers again. Mom and dad are back together. We did it. And only just recently, these games are returning to China. And a part of me wants to believe NetEase made this hero shooter in spite of their little drama. I don't know how the timeline works with these kinds of games and their game development. I do think the game could have been developed pretty quickly considering all of the pieces needed to make it were already right in front of their faces. They already had a partnership with Marvel to make a mobile game. It's not as polished as Overwatch, but Overwatch was a scrapped game called Project Titan, which was in development for 7 years, but then it only took 3 years to repurpose it into the formerly iconic hero shooter we love to hate today. Overwatch used to be, the model student on how to properly monetize your game, but, now it freaking fell in with the bad kids and it's just as greedy as all the other ones. I mean, what do you expect? Activision Blizzard rakes in $7 billion a year. You can't expect a massive corporation to not try to extract all your money from your wallet, right? What's that? NetEase rakes in $13.7 billion a year? That's more than Epic Games? It's more than Spotify, Wayfair, and eBay? That's kind of ridiculous. I did not know that and I did not expect that. And what do I always say? Billion-dollar companies are not our friends. If there's money to be made off of the success of a game or a product, big companies are going to try to make that money. Rivals has a pretty good monetization system right now, but I also think they didn't know how big of a success Rivals would be. I think the evidence for this is by looking at their tournament. It has a prize pool of $14,500. They probably make enough money to fund that tournament every 5 seconds from Invisible Woman's Malice skin alone. Not even joking, right? Right? If they knew how big of a success this game was going to be, would they try to extract more money from you? Probably, and don't worry, it's not too late. NetEase doesn't have the best reputation in China, but maybe they'll treat this game differently. Let me get into my favorite little fun fact about these two companies. When Blizzard and NetEase, two separately greedy companies, made the diabolical concoction of Diablo Immortals, they had astonishingly bad anti-consumerism monetization, and they let reviewers publish their reviews before they unleashed their hellish pay-to-win mechanics, costing $500,000 to max out a character. In a pay-to-win game, lovely work, chef's kiss. I'm sure the shareholders are ecstatic. Now, I don't think Rivals is going to be anything like that, but I do see a wave of negative reviews coming in roughly October 2025, give or take 5 years. That's my prediction. NetEase usually makes mobile games, and we all know how great the monetization is on those. So, that's why I don't have a lot of faith in the company to be super consumer friendly forever. And there are some other worries about NetEase. If we look at some common criticisms in China about NetEase games, A, it's about their monetization models, but of course that's the mobile game industry. And B is them shutting down their games pretty often. If you look at delistedgames.com, NetEase has shut down 9 games since 2021. And they're also known for doing something that they already did in Rivals, which is have bot lobbies and not tell the players. It seems like in Rivals they do this because they want to keep player morale high. If you start going on a loss streak, all of a sudden they throw you a bot lobby where all of a sudden it's an easy game, you feel better, you're happy again, and now you could go back to normal games, which it's a pretty smart strategy, but I don't like that they don't tell you this. And I've been going through a lot of the negatives about NetEase and not saying much about the negatives of Blizzard, which Blizzard is obviously a horrible company, but everyone already knows that. And if you don't know that, you should look into it. Outside of China, NetEase isn't really known that much. So I feel like it's necessary to go over who they are. But even worst case scenario, they're probably not going to be worse than Blizzard. I've seen a lot of people say that they like Rivals because the developers actually care about the players and about the game. And I'm sure this is correct. They created a really good game, and they're probably really proud of their work, and they want players who enjoy their game to be happy. On the other side of things, there's Overwatch, and I'm pretty sure it's the same thing. Most of the bad decisions of the game were not made by the developers. It's the execs, the CEO, and people on the top. The devs don't say, hey, why don't we rebrand the game to Overwatch 2 so that we could slide in a battle pass and paid skins into the game? I'm pretty sure the devs always try to make the game as good as they can with the resources they're given. They might make some weird balancing decisions, but for the most part, it's good intentions. Under previous management, they were told to do this, make that, only for the CEO to change his mind and tell them to scrap it. And that's the problem with games owned by massive corporations, and that's why I don't trust NetEase to continue making decisions with the player's best interests in mind. When you have a game on Steam where it's a passion project created by two friends, you get 100% put your faith in the devs to continue making the game great. But when it comes to NetEase and Blizzard at the wheel, this changes. The only thing that's going to stop them from being greedy is competition. And people like to create rivalries between games and want winners and losers, but let me assure you, if you like either of these games, you do not want there to be a winner. So stop going on different platforms and telling people to stop playing a game that they're enjoying just because the game has become the internet's punching bag. If Overwatch fails, it won't be good news for Rivals players. The devs won't have a reason to innovate or be consumer friendly because if you like hero shooters, where else are you going to go? And if Rivals fails, then Overwatch will continue being underwhelming and continue being greedy. Now, I don't think these games are going to fail. I think they could both survive easily. Rivals has a great chance of maintaining its success, and I really hope it does. One of my predictions for the longevity of Rivals lies in where Overwatch and Rivals differ in their focus: quick play versus competitive. Overwatch really focuses on competitive, which people love to grind rank, and they love to see the pretty little shiny emblems, which is less pretty and less shiny than the Overwatch 1 ones. And this reason to grind really keeps players playing their game. What's that? Despite completely focusing on the competitive aspects of the game and dumping a butt ton of money into the competitive scene, the most played game is still quick play. Marvel Rivals at the moment seems like it's catering towards the non-competitive crowd, while also having the competitive scene for those who are interested. And even without them focusing on competitive with their balancing and whatnot, they still have a tournament system inside of the game, which Overwatch, what the frick? Like, how do you not have that yet? I'm sure, like, come on. And Rivals kind of has a perfect recipe for a successful casual game. They have every Marvel hero, loved ones and niche ones, that they could add into the game to bring players back. With the crazy abilities of each hero and dropping heroes faster than Overwatch, players will have a great reason to hop back into the game every month and a half. The only issue I could see arising is the amount of abilities already in the game. They're going to have a ton of overlapping abilities for new heroes, especially the longer the game goes on. And now for a reason I don't think Overwatch is going to die, and that's because it has an addicted player base that's stuck around for almost 9 years. Content creators are burnt out because it's kind of their job to play the game, but normal people don't have to force themselves to play and aren't nearly as sick of the game. Obviously there are a bunch of people that are, but for the most part, I think things will be fine, even after they fumble this next patch. Overwatch's future did actually look this bleak exactly 1 year ago. At the end of Season 8, the peak players was almost exactly where it is today, but Season 9 was the patch where they decided to shake things up, which is exactly what's happening in Season 15. From the end of Season 8 to the beginning of Season 10, the player base actually more than doubled. And it wasn't just a fluke, hitting a player count doubling the Season 8 low multiple times before Rivals came out. And with people enjoying Rivals, people are remembering how fun hero shooters can be. And having this other game is kind of like having two gas stations next to each other. People drive over to go to one gas station, and once they see the other one doesn't look too bad, they might go there instead, even though it might seem counterintuitive because you would think they would just be stealing each other's customers. No one would be there in the first place if it wasn't for the other one. You know, there's not only one battle royale game to play, and there really shouldn't have been only one main hero shooter game to play for all of these years. It's a really cool genre that I love, and I've always been surprised it wasn't more popular. I've got a lot to say about the futures of these games, and I wanted to go in depth into the comparisons between these games and what that could mean for the likelihood of their success, what problems they're gonna like run into and stuff. And I started recording this video, and that was all gonna be part of this video, but it was way too long and I deleted it out. But then when I deleted it out, the video wasn't very coherent, so I had to redo the whole thing twice, and it probably still sucks, but you know, the next part won't be as bad, so subscribe and stay tuned for that. In the meanwhile, watch this video about features Overwatch needs to add. Cool, thanks, bye.